Let's start. I want to start with auto. Like, where the hell did you come up with it? You've never told me this story.
I wanted a name that's not my name, but also not like a cheesy design name, like blah blah design or blah blah creative, you know. So I thought, so auto is the number 8 in Italian, and the number 8 is like a prosperous number for Chinese, which I am. I'm Chinese. So I just thought auto is the one. And then I was born in the year of the rabbit, hence the rabbit in the logo. So it's like one of those names that doesn't really make sense, even after I explain it to you. And I think that's probably why I liked it, because it doesn't make sense.
I think it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
It's your birth, it's Chinese, it's
right.
Auto. I mean, it's unique.
Okay.
Why not? I love it. I love the story.
Okay, good.
So, give me the background though of your drawing and your artistic background. Like, where did you first kind of get that first time you just picked up a pencil and started drawing? Like, what was that inspiration?
I don't really have one, to be honest. Like, I mean, I in some ways I wish I knew earlier so that I could have taken more art history classes in college and stuff. Because I didn't like, by the time I realized I could do it, it was like so down the line that it wasn't like I could like go back and re-educate myself, you know. It's like it was just like, oh, I did it, and then I guess I was good enough at it that other people wanted me to do it, and that was it.
A lot of people wanted you to do it. Did that surprise you? And how many people were like?
Yeah, totally, for sure. Like I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know that I had the skills for it. You know, like I thought I had the skills for certain people, like me and my friends, but not outside that.
How has technology impacted like each thing?
I mean, it's definitely made it easier to learn. I mean, the learning curve for me wasn't very hard. I think it's also because, you know, I think me making films first before I got into design helped, because it's going from one visual medium to the other, and also it's staying within the same arena, you know, of like films. You know, like I'm basically designing for other films, so it's like it's kind of like still looking at things from the same perspective, and I think that helped a lot, actually.
I've noticed that personally the ones I like the most have a natural, like an element of nature.
Yeah.
Where do you find your inspiration for when you're actually creating for each director? Do you look at the natural world? Do you look outside of that? Like, how do you decide, I want to do this, I want to do that? Do you take their advice? Do you like, let me figure it out? Like, how does each one work?
It depends on who I'm working with at that time. Like, I think some filmmakers are more open to my interpretation, and others are more specific about what they want already. And it's just a matter of, like, my whole thing is always about designing something that the filmmakers are not embarrassed of, because I think that's usually what happens with a lot of filmmakers by the time that their film gets picked up. And most of the time, you know, their films are designed by an entity that they're not communicating with, you know, so they can't really correspond with the designers, what their intents are and what they're looking for and all that kind of stuff. So then they get this artwork for their film that is like not what it's not like the way they see their films, you know. It's all often like gets into the realm of like misleading marketing, you know, and I can see that being very frustrating for a lot of filmmakers. So my whole thing is always try to honor what their films are, and try to sort of stay in the same stay in the tonal vein of their films, you know, just so when they see what I designed for them, it doesn't feel like something entirely different, but at the same time it's still something that accentuates what they're trying to communicate with their films.
I don't want you to give away like what's been the longest one to make, but time-wise, how do you time out, okay, I can get this to you then?
Yeah.
I mean, like, how do you time out how long you know you can do, and how long do you have for leeway? Like, when can you say, okay, I can't possibly do this.
Yeah.
I don't have enough time.
If certain films tell me that they want a certain kind of style that I know I can't deliver, then I would just tell them up front that it's not. You should look for somebody else. But if it's like something where they're open to seeing what I come up with, then usually, I take like I would say the way it's delivered is like I deliver in draft versions. Like the very first draft, I do a couple of different comps that are all different from each other. And the intention of that is just so that they can see it, and then they can see what I'm trying to do, and then they can figure out, okay, I want to do this, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do this, and then I can narrow it down to what I think they like into one version that is that combines all the things that they liked about all from the first drafts. So it's like. So it's like time frame wise, usually I would say first drafts takes me about an average a week to a week and a half to come up with, and then you just sort of go from there. And it could go where I would nail it in the first drafts, where I would nail something very specifically where they're like, oh my gosh, we totally want that version, or sometimes it's so off that they would tell me, okay, let's discuss this again, and then I think this is more of what we want to do, and then. By the time I do the second drafts, it will be something completely different from the first drafts, for instance. So it could go in the way. Like it really depends on the filmmaker.
Does it help that a lot of the early ones were filmmakers you knew and were friendly with?
Yeah, totally, for sure. Like knowing a lot of the filmmakers I designed for in the beginning as friends helped. Because I think it was me knowing them as people. And knowing what their sensibilities are and what their tastes are kind of helps me figure out what they would gravitate towards.
Do you look at other poster designers like Mondo and in different places? Do you tell me about what do you see in them that you like? Mm-hmm. And does that ever apply? Because I do think there's a distinct nature to what you do and what everyone else does.
Yeah.
So, what do you like about other?
I always think everyone's better than me. That's what happens when I look at other people's stuff. Like the Mondo stuff is something that's entirely in a different vein. Like I think it's very illustrative. So that's not really my thing, but I can really see the craft in that, and I really admire what they bring to the table. But I would look at other designers too, like Neil Kellerhouse is one of those guys who design a lot for like Fincher and Soderbergh, and his stuff is like, you look at his stuff, you're just kind of like, I don't know why I'm designing anymore, because you're just on a different level, like I don't know how I can get to your level, because you're so amazing and you're so brilliant in the way you think of things that it's like, I think the way I look at those things is always like, I would just look at it as like I would feel like, oh, these inspire me, as opposed to these make me want to quit. Even though they still do make me want to quit, because they're brilliant.
But you're still getting work. There's something to that. Is it nice that even though you think you should quit, no one else does? Yeah, totally. I think with some of these designers, like a lot of these guys who are working on studio level films, I think it's a different kind of process. It's also a different kind of budget too. So I feel like, I don't know, like I've heard what it's like to work on that level, and then I do ask myself if I am into that kind of process, or I could adapt to that process. In other words, my understanding of when you like design for studio level sort of marketing, it's like you are doing like 60 to 100 versions of a poster, and you have a team of people who's doing all these with you. And I'm kind of like thinking, I don't know if I like that, because that's a bit excessive, But I can understand that, because that's like there's more money in it and all that kind of stuff, so therefore there's more quantity. But I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of, that level of design, if that makes sense. Do you find yourself looking at different forms of art? Are you I know you're an artistic person, but do you find yourself now more into going to museums more often? I mean, has that impacted you because you are in design? Do you look at architecture?
Yeah, totally, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it has, like I kind of learned to appreciate other things a lot more, like, and I think I still kick myself in terms of I really should have gone back. Like, I should have taken more art history classes, because I feel like a lot of these things I'm appreciating right now, or even some of the techniques that I'm using in my design right now, or I don't know where they came from, and somebody would tell me this comes from Art Deco, or this comes from Swiss design or whatever, and I don't even know that, so maybe I would like to know that, I guess.
Let's tie it into BART and VideoFest and the fact that they're opening basically this festival with your artwork. What does that mean personally to you, and what is a festival like this that's been around forever, BART's been around forever, wanting to open this year by showcasing something fresh and new?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'm very flattered, when he thought of the idea of doing it, because I never thought that it's of interest to a lot of people. So I think it's great. At the same time, I also know that Bart's he's very design conscious. He's very aesthetic conscious about things. So, like, it makes sense for him to sort of like put something like this together. And I think it's great. Because I mean, part of it is always like a matter of like bringing awareness to things that we don't really think about. Like, I mean, poster design is just one of those things that you can either be really into or you just sort of take for granted, and having something like this is a great way to just sort of let people be informed of what goes into it.
The Tex Theater's always been art conscious too.
Right.
Being able to showcase it here, that's got to be just as refreshing and nice, because they've always had that artistic touch with, I mean, they've sold a lot of this material, so not necessarily just posters, but full-on paintings. What's it like being able to showcase it here?
It's cool.
I mean, you also know these guys.
Yeah, totally. Like, the Texas Theater is almost like, I mean, people, the guys who started, I've been friends with them even before they started the theater, so it's like, it's always nice to come back to Dallas and do something with them.
I think the first time I ever met you was downstairs doing an interview.
Yeah.
Quite a long time ago.
That makes sense, yeah.
What do you like about me? Go.
What do I like about you? You ask good questions. I think you do your homework, like, it's not, sometimes like you get interviewed by people who like does not know, or your background does not know, they have not seen what you've done.
So what have you done? I've never seen any of your work. Tell us a bit about your movies. No, I'm just messing with you.
They ask like very like generic questions that are just like very like, oh my gosh, you do not give a shit. And that's fine, just don't interview me if you don't give a shit,
I guess the final questions, we'll jump away from all that. Tell us a bit about where the outfit's going, and also, I know you're kind of working on something, you might not want to talk about it, but can you give us maybe a hint of what we can expect next? A feature,
Outfit
short?
is still playing at festivals, and then I'm currently finishing up a new short film that we got a sizable grant from the Oak Cliff Film Festival, actually. So, I'm finishing that up, and then I have a feature-length script that I'm hoping to shoot, but I don't know when, so that's that.
Perfect way to end it.
Yeah.